It began with a whisper. Then a scream. By the mid-1300s, a shadow was creeping across the known world. A terror unlike anything humanity had ever faced. It didn't arrive with the clash of swords or the roar of an invading army. It came silently, carried on the backs of rats scuttling in the holds of merchant ships. This was not a war of kings or empires. It was a war against an invisible enemy. An enemy that would kill 1 out of every 3 people in Europe, perhaps more. This was the Black Death. The story starts far to the east. Along the bustling Silk Road, goods and ideas had flowed for centuries, connecting Asia to Europe. But something else traveled with the silks, the spices, the porcelain. A deadly bacterium, Yersinia pestis, had found the perfect highway. It hitched a ride in the blood of fleas. The fleas lived on the ubiquitous black rats. Those rats infested every caravan, every warehouse, and every port. No one could have possibly understood the microscopic monster they were spreading with every transaction. By 1347, the plague had reached the Black Sea. At the Genoese outpost of Kaffa, a siege was underway. The Mongol army, ravaged by illness, hurled infected corpses over the walls, primitive biological warfare. No one in the 14th century understood what was causing this apocalyptic disease. They blamed it on everything. God's punishment, misaligned planets, foul vapors rising from the earth. They looked for scapegoats. Tragically, many accused Jewish communities of poisoning wells. The real culprit was far too small to be seen. It was a bacterium, Yersinia pestis. The mechanism of infection was a grim, efficient cycle. The bacteria lived within fleas. Fleas feasted on black rats that thrived in crowded towns. When a rat died, the fleas abandoned it, seeking a new warm host, often humans. A flea's bite regurgitated bacteria into the bloodstream. The invisible invasion had begun. The clock now ticked for the infected. The symptoms were swift and brutal. It started with a high fever, chills, overwhelming fatigue, a profound sense of dread. Within a day or two, the telltale signs appeared. The buboes. Large, painful swellings of lymph nodes, often groin, armpits, or neck. They would start red, then turn dark purple or black, giving the disease its name. The pain was excruciating. The sight, horrifying. For most, death came within 3 to 7 days. The plague spread like wildfire through a dry forest. From the ports, it followed trade routes inland. Carried by merchants, by pilgrims, by soldiers, it moved from city to city, town to town, village to village. Crowded, unsanitary conditions were the perfect breeding ground. A paradise for rats and therefore for plague. Markets, churches, public squares, epicenters of infection. Community itself became a vector for death. From roughly 1347 to 1351, the Black Death wiped out 30 to 60% of Europe. Imagine Florence or Paris and finding 1 out of every 2 people you knew gone. Entire villages abandoned, fields untended, farms fell silent. Not enough living remained to bury the dead. Mass graves layered bodies with thin earth between. Death reshaped life and faith. Priests died in huge numbers. Many questioned belief. Art fixated on mortality. The dance macabre. Skeletons leading kings, popes, peasants. Yet amid horror came innovation. Inspections at gates, isolation wards, and in Ragusa, a 30-day quarantine, later 40 quaranta. Our word, quarantine. When the first most devastating wave subsided around 1351, survivors walked into a changed world. A severe labor shortage followed. The tables turned. Workers demanded higher wages, better conditions, more freedom. The Black Death was not a one-time event. It returned in successive, though less severe waves for centuries, a constant reminder of human vulnerability. The Great Plague of London in 1665 was one of its last major European gasps. Only in the 19th century, building on the germ theory of Louis Pasteur and the work of Robert Koch, did science close in on the truth. In 1894, Alexandre Yersin isolated Yersinia pestis. At last, the ancient enemy had a name. Soon after, the roles of fleas and rats were confirmed. Lessons from that terrible time are woven into our modern world. Quarantine, born in plague-ridden ports, is now a standard tool of global public health, isolating the sick and controlling travel. Radical then, fundamental epidemiology today. Hospitals, public health departments, international health organizations, distant roots in medieval desperation. The Black Death shows how a microbe can unravel social structures, reshape economies, and alter how people think. It revealed fear, blame, and scapegoats, but also resilience, innovation, and care. Today, we have antibiotics that can treat plague, yet we are not immune to pandemics. The Black Death teaches the importance of science, global cooperation, and compassion.